At what age were you diagnosed with sickle cell?
It's from 6 months.
Have you ever felt any form of grievance towards your parents?
I was so angry at my parents. My dad in particular. I was like, if he didn't meet my mom, all of this wouldn't have happened.
Has your genotype ever hindered you in any relationship? Like, say you fall in love with someone?
Yes. He found out that I was sickle cell. He was like, no, he can't go through this with me. The other one was like, if he dates me, that I am going to infect him. And then I was like, sickle cell is not HIV.
When you started this interview, you mentioned that you're 30. When I was in school, I told you I had a roommate.
Yes, you said.
And she used to always say she would not live past the age of 21. She's like, yeah, like most sickle cell people don't live past the age of 21. Is that a misconception or is that a real thing?
People on my socials, my friends, my family, they know how this 30 means a lot to me. Like, I was looking forward to this 30. Last year, I turned 29. I did like a carnival in the street of Abuja. I was going street by street with a placard, raising it up, saying I'm 29 with sickle cell. And then this 30, it's a thing of joy for me. So
You can take a minute if you need a minute.
I lost my best friend in the BC last year. This year as well, I've lost Steven, I've lost Becky. It's just a lot.
I want you to paint a picture for us of what it feels like to have a crisis.
I was having this, if I'm walking, as if the socket of the hip would just go off and come back in. The prosthetic hip that they implanted, because it has to do with my bone, and then my bone got decayed because I was bedridden for months. I couldn't do stuff. Sickle cell is 3 times more excruciating than a woman in labor. Sickle cell warriors are 90% depressed and 10% suicidal. But now, we're in the 21st century, I think that no child should be born now with sickle cell.
Welcome to today's episode of Doing's Corner. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about a topic that I feel so much empathy towards. We're going to be discussing the struggles of a sickle cell warrior. If you know anybody that either lives with sickle cell anemia or you yourself live with sickle cell anemia, I think you can understand to an extent what amount of pain they go through, the tears, the challenges, the sleepless nights. I personally have lived with somebody that's lived with this, and I could tell you firsthand, I wasn't even the one feeling the pain, but it was terrible for me to even just witness that. And we have somebody in the studio with us today, and she's going to just talk us through what the physical, emotional, and psychological challenges are as a sickle cell warrior. So I'll leave her to introduce herself. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so please just tell us your name and anything about it.
Okay. My name is Judith Ojonugwa Matthew. I am 30 years old. I turned 30 some days ago, and I live with sickle cell. I have sickle cell. So I am a health coach, sickle cell health coach. I'm also a content creator in Abuja and a social media manager. Yes.
That's great.
Thank you.
I'm very happy to hear your age particularly, but we'll get to that. I'll explain why I said that. But Judith, first of all, just tell us, at what age were you diagnosed with sickle cell anemia?
Okay, I was diagnosed from 6 months.
6 months?
Yes, I started having crisis from 6 months. And
6 months? That's not even up to a year.
No. So 6 months up until now.
You still have crisis?
I still have crisis, yes.
That's crazy.
I'm still having crisis. I currently have a crisis.
Right now?
Right now.
How is that possible? Because we can't even... You don't look like you're in pain right now.
This particular crisis is on my hip. We'll get to that. But
okay.
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
It's fine, thank you.
First of all, what's it like growing up? Because you said 6 months was when you were diagnosed. I cannot imagine what it's like for a baby that cannot express herself, cannot tell people how she's feeling, or what's it like growing up with sickle cell anemia?
Honestly, it was a lot. It was quite challenging. Having, just like you said, 6 months, I wasn't talking, but I was feeling pain, raw pain. I would liken it to a sharp, someone having a sharp knife literally cutting every part of my body. at 6 months, and I couldn't express myself. So it was the duty of my parents to also like know that I was in pain, and then they acted accordingly, because I wasn't the only sickle cell I wasn't the only sickle cell child. I also had an elder sister. I also had an elder sister who was also sickle cell, but she passed when she was 13. So, but at 6 months, I started having crisis, raw pain. Like I said, it was so excruciating. I couldn't communicate. But then, of course, my parents knew that I was having pain, and they were always taking me to the hospital. Always. One particular, because we have different types of crisis, but the particular type I was having is called a vaso-occlusive crisis. So this is the total body type of crisis. Like every part of your body is literally on fire, like from your head to your toe is a vaso-occlusive, or you can liken it to as a bone crisis. So that was what I was having, and of course I couldn't communicate it. So it was a lot, honestly. It was.
I when I was in uni, I lived with a roommate. My roommate was she had sickle cell, and she used to have crises very often. Actually, almost like
Yes.
almost every other night. Yeah, and
Yes.
for me, I used to always think I wasn't even her, but a part of me was like mad at her parents because I used to always think, okay, is it love that would make two people decide that, well, we don't care, or was it just ignorance? Because there are people that say that, in the olden days when our parents were getting married, there wasn't much like people were
Awareness.
awareness
Yes.
about
Yes.
AS not getting
Married.
married or
Yes.
genotype talk in general. So for you personally, have you ever felt any form of like grievance towards your parents? Like maybe at a point where you were having the crisis, has there ever been any time when you felt like I wish I wasn't born? Why did my parents even give birth to me? Did you ever feel that way?
To say the truth, yes. While I was growing up, because I, when my elder sister passed, like I said, I wasn't the only sickle cell. So when my elder sister passed, it was just me, and the rest of my siblings. Well, they couldn't care, like they don't have a care in the world. Like they'll go out, play. I was just like confined to my own. Like I can't do things that they do as a child while growing up, because they were like boundaries. They were like, don't do this, don't do that,
Right.
restrictions. So it was just a lot for me. I couldn't even act the way other kids were doing it, to play, because low hydration, I'll have a crisis. Stress triggers crisis. A whole lot of factors triggers crisis for me. And seeing that you can't even do most things that your siblings are doing, that your peers are doing. So I was so angry at my parents. My dad in particular, I was like, if he didn't meet my mom, all of these wouldn't have happened. But as I grew older, I understood that it's ignorance. Yes, it's ignorance, because they there was not, how will I put it, like this compatibility thing, they didn't really put it to check.
Right.
But now, when the 21st century is 2025, so people like have access to social media, healthcare now, I think that no child should be born now with sickle cell. Like, no, nobody should bring a child now having sickle cell, because we can say then ignorance, but what
But
about
what's the
now?
excuse now? Right.
There's no excuse, actually. No.
Speaking about being upset at your parents, did you ever have the conversation with them? Did you ever at any point say to them, why did you do this? And how did they respond to that if you did?
No, 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 no. I never had the conversation in passing. Maybe in passing I did, but like a one-on-one, I never did. But there were times that I would have a crisis, and I would just be maybe grumbling, mumbling. Like I'll say, "Why did you give birth to me? I'm always in pain. I can't do things. I can't do this." And they'll like console me, because that's like the least they can do, to like console me, because they didn't want me to be laid back, because I was a laid back child. So they didn't want that for me. But the least they could do is just to be always there for me. And I appreciate that they did that, because that took off a whole lot of weight. Because if you're a child born with sickle cell and you don't have like a strong support system, you can just go into depression, and that's like a whole lot of weight for you to carry. So I had like a good support system. I think that counts for something.
That's good. So when you were speaking, you mentioned that you have an elder sister, or you had an elder sister that passed. She also had sickle cell. Watching, first of all, like, what was the age difference between the both of you?
Okay. She was
Please, you have to.
okay. She was 30. She died at 13.
How old were you when she died?
I was 3 years old.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
so
you
she
didn't
was
really know
10
much
years
then.
old. Yes, so she was 10 years older than I was. But then her own, what's it called now? Her own type of crisis is every week. Every week, her name is Jane. Jane will be rushed to the hospital like literally every week. Like as she's getting out of this one, she's
going
entering
back
into So it was so chronic for her. But unlike her, mine wasn't that way. So it's like that for most sickle cell warriors. Like our body differs. So yes, so this Mr. A can be different from Mr. B. So but we're the same, but it doesn't accurately mean we're not sickle cell. We're sickle cell, but just that body differs. So yeah.
So seeing as a 3-year-old, I'm sure you had an idea. At that time, you already knew that
I did,
yeah.
yes.
Were you scared? Did that ever put any fear in you that, oh my God, my sister that has the same thing that I have died? Is that going to happen to me too? Did that ever weigh on you mentally as a child?
To be quite honest, it gave me a scare because before she passed, I saw my sister always in excruciating pain. Like I said, every now and then she would be rushed to the hospital. She was always on injections, medication, and these injections, they messes up with us so bad. So I saw how those medication messed up with her. But if there's one thing I like for sickle cell warriors is the fact that we're very smart, we're very intelligent. So if every week that my sister was always in the hospital, coming back to school, even she can even stay like a term without going back to school. But when she comes back, like she catches up so fast. Like you don't need to explain more than twice, and then she grabs it. So that's like what stood out for her. But then again, she had a weakness, which was sickle cell. And while she passed, like I said, it gave me a scare. I was like, will all of these, like all of the mental torture, mental strain, everything that she had to like go through, is it ever going to happen to me? But I lived in fear for several years. Like all my life, I've always been like I had low self-esteem. I battled with low self-esteem for long because of sickle cell.
But why?
Because, like I said, while other kids, my peers were playing, even my siblings were playing, I was a laid-back child. My mom would always say, okay, it's okay, don't play, go back inside, or don't do this, don't do that. Like, I want to do stuff with my siblings. I want to do stuff with my peers, but you're limiting me. You're telling me not to do this, not to do that. So I just reclined into my shell. I was just on my own. So I became I had low self-esteem. Like I said, I just wanted to just be on my own. Before, I can't even look someone in the eyes. I would, like when I'm walking, I don't get to look at people in their eyes. I just walk, bow my head and just walk. So it was so bad. So like I said, it had like a whole lot of impact on me as a child, but just seeing my elder sister going through all of those episodes, because every now and then she was always in the hospital, I had that in me that this would happen to me, and my fear actually caught up with me while I was growing. We'll get into that, but I have one resolve I have gotten in all of this is no matter what, I would live in purpose. And that's what I'm actually doing.
That's very powerful.
Thank you.
I like that you haven't allowed this dampen your spirit, because I can imagine what this would do to somebody.
Yes.
And especially because, we have a lot of people that are not very informed. And just like the way you hear that maybe somebody has cancer and there are people that discriminate against that person, don't come close to me, don't. Did you ever face anything like that, like, or maybe people that didn't want to play with you because you were termed like maybe that sick child or whatever? Did you ever experience any of that growing up?
Yes, I had that as a child, like my peer mates. When they found out that I was sickle cell, they used to, they still say, people still call us sicklers. So we find that word very derogatory. We don't like it when people say, yes, when people call us sicklers. So growing up, they always refer to me as sicky, sickler. I didn't like that. So whenever I am maybe playing with a child and maybe the mom will say, no play with that sicky, all those kind of things. So it dampens me, but I can say because they weren't informed, maybe that's why. But now I haven't really gotten that, but in relationship I have. Yes. So.
We're going to get into the relationship part, but I also know that there is the SS and there is the CS.
SC.
SC. Also,
yes.
there's SS and SC.
SC, yes.
So, what I know as a layman, I don't know so much about this, but what I think most people know is to have the SS genotype, an AS person and an AS person must have gotten married.
Yes.
So, how does this SC come about? And then what's the difference between SS and SC?
The difference between SS and SC is actually, sickle is still sickle cell.
The same thing?
It's the same thing. Sickle cell, SC, and beta thalassemia. There's another one. There are three actually. Sickle cell, SS, SC, and then beta thalassemia. They're actually the same thing, but like growing up and even in my own little research that I have done and I have seen with other people who are SS like myself, SS is like the more dominant like gene, like very strong, like we come up with, like we have crisis every now and then, but
more than the SC.
More than the SC, yes. The SC, they like hardly fall into crisis, but like hardly, but we still have SC genotype people that also have like crisis every now and then, but they used to have like milder crisis compared to those who have SS, those who are SS actually. So, and then the people who, how you can come about SC is AS and AC.
Oh, so there's a genotype called AC.
Yes.
So aside the AA, there's AA,
There's
AS,
AS.
there's AC.
Yes.
Then there's SS.
There's CC.
There's CC.
Yes.
Ah. Wow.
Yes.
So what's the compatible genotype? AA can marry anybody.
AA can marry all of the genotypes in the world.
AS can only marry AA.
AA can marry all genotype in the world. AS, AA, SS, AA, like every other genotype should go to AA. Yes, and then they're good.
So now, if we leave the childhood part of it, so growing up and, getting into relationships and stuff like that, has your genotype ever, hindered you in any relationship? Like, say you fall in love with someone or you meet someone, or do you even not even get to the point of even falling in love? Like, is that like a first question you ask somebody on a first date? What's your genotype? Has it ever hindered you? Have you ever had anybody say, sorry, I can't be with you because of your genotype? Or how has that been like for you?
Okay, now, like recently now, what I do, I don't mean like right now, like over the 5-6 couple of years, what I do now is to, if I'm in a talking stage with someone, I tell them straight up, like even before they like go through my socials or whatever, right. I let them know that, hey, I'm actually SS, how far, and then if it's something we can continue, fine, but if not, we stop. We just see that the whole communication thing just fizzles out. But I have been in one that before now, I was just like, okay, let me just watch how this thing would play out. And when he found out that I was sickle cell, he was like, no, he can't go through this with me. The other one was like, if he dates me, that I am going to infect him. with sickle cell. Like,
Infect him.
that's what he said.
And this is an adult.
This is an adult in this 21st century. And then I was like, sickle cell is not HIV. And even if it is HIV, even people with HIV deserve love. So you can't rule me off because I have sickle cell. Sickle cell is not even a death sentence. Sickle cell is, I'm just sickle cell. Like, nothing is happening. So I'm not going to infect you. I tried to like school him, but I found out that I was like maybe forcing him to like me, and I won't do that. I'm a spec as well, same way he is a spec. So I won't let him like control the whole relationship thing, like telling me that this is I'm going to infect him now. I didn't let that go through. We didn't even last up to a month, and then we went. And then another one was like, okay, even if he dates me, his parents might not like the idea, and it's your duty to let your parents know that you are in a relationship with this person. And in as much as I feel that your parents should not even determine who you should fall in love with, but then this is someone you're going to live with for the rest of your life. So if your parents doesn't approve of us, then what's the point? I can't go into a family where I don't get love. Yeah, so I can't.
But do you get mad at these people that say, like the one that said, "Oh, don't infect me," or the one that said, sorry, I can't continue?
I was so mad.
Can you kind of, at the end of the day, I understand it from your own point of view, but also, everybody has the right to make a choice.
Very
decision
true.
for themselves and
Very
say,
true.
this is what I want to, this is what I can deal with, this is what I'm not going to deal with. Some of us say, I'm not going to get married to a short man. Some of us say, I'm not going to get married to a fat person. It's just preference, right?
Preference, yes.
So were you able to reconcile that within yourself and just accept it? Or is it something that you still get upset at? Like, why would somebody not want to be with me? Or is it something that you've been able to like just say, well, I understand?
Yes, I was so frustrated. I was so mad before now. But right now, I've gotten to a level where, and then I was even feeling that I didn't even love myself enough. Because if I love myself enough, I won't let all of those things that they were saying or they were doing to get to me. But now, I'm loving myself so well that I feel love will come. Yeah. Maybe when I'm not even looking, it will come. Right. So for every warrior out there thinking maybe they won't get settled, they will. Love will find you. Love will come. Love will find me. Love will find them. So just like you said, it's preference. People don't want to settle for a short person. Don't want to settle for a tall person. People don't want to settle for me, like someone like me having sickle cell. But that's your choice. Right. Yes. So someone who wants to settle with me will come, and he won't even have, this will not even be a problem. So yes.
I really like your mindset.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that to get to this point of, I know who I am, I love myself, I know that I'm deserving of love, I know this must have taken a lot of work.
Now, this is for someone who even battled low self-esteem.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah. I can imagine how much work would have gone
a whole lot of work.
Getting to this point.
Yes.
And, it's just a reminder to anybody out there, because I can imagine that it would be something that is heavy, like weighing heavily on people that deal with this, that are dealing with, sickle cell. Like, would I ever get married? Would anybody ever love me? But there's somebody for everybody.
Exactly.
That's it. Like you said, even people with HIV, they find somebody, they find people that love them. And
yes, regardless. Yes.
And one thing that you mentioned that I really, really like is you said that at the beginning of every talking stage, you make sure that you mention it to these people. Yes. I like that, because I think it's important. Honesty is a very, very, very important part of every relationship, right? And a lot of people, because they're trying to maybe control the situation, and they're trying to make sure that, oh, I don't want this person to leave me. So they want the person to like get heavily invested first in them. Then they will now tell them. Then at that point, it kind of becomes maybe a bit too called for the person to walk away. But I like that you said that you always say it at the beginning, and those that will stay will stay. Those that will leave will leave, and those that leave are not just meant for you. And that's just how it is. But I want to talk about outside relationship. There's also the career aspect of it, right? As an employer, I assume that we see this discrimination even with pregnant women. Like something as common as pregnancy. Pregnancy is even a thing of joy.
I was so down for months, like I said. But I got to understand that no employer would want to keep someone who is inconsistent. Let's just be honest. So what would I do? I needed to like get out from that zone that I was and say, okay, Judith, you need to do this, do that. You can't wait for a 9 to 5 because even if it comes, I'm at this point where even if a 9 to 5 come, I will still not be consistent because I will still fall sick. You will still lay me off. And this gets to me. This breaks me. So what would I do? I picked up myself and then I brushed up. I said I was a social media manager and a content creator. So I'm very good with socials, like very, very good. So this is something I do, and then it puts food on my table. And then I'm like, oh, wow. So I can do this at the comfort of, because I can take jobs when people, when I'm fine and people send me a message that, oh, okay, I need you to like come, let's create this content. Da, da, da. If I am down, I can just tell you there and then that, oh, okay, I can't make it today. Like, this is like me being a boss of myself because I'm down, I can't come. But if I'm okay, I can take it. But working as a 9 to 5, you can't determine. You have to always go to work every day.
Right.
So as a sickle cell warrior, you will face this. So it's left for you to like go and get something that would like to improvise. You need to
Yeah.
be self-employed
Right.
so that whenever you can open your store or whenever you can work, you would work. If you can't work, you're resting. So that's it. That's like what I can advise all sickle cell warriors to do in Nigeria now. Yes.
Speaking about when you started this interview, you mentioned that you're 30. And I
Yes.
said that makes me very happy because when I was in school, I told you I had a roommate.
Yes, you said.
And she used to always say she would not live past the age of 21. And I used to say to her,
She
like,
said that?
yeah, she used to
Wow.
always say it. And
Wow.
I used to say to her, like, why are you even confessing this thing on yourself? Like,
Wow.
she's like, yeah, like most sickle cell people don't live past the age of 21. That's like the highest, like that, like a
She had
cutoff or
seen?
what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So she was almost at a point where she was preparing herself for death. There are a lot of people that cannot deal with knowing that they have something that is terminal or not terminal, something that is not going to go away. Do you
Yes,
understand? Or
yes.
something that they're going to have to live with for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
Yeah. And truly, I know someone, my sister's friend that may her soul rest in peace now. Her name is Tammy. She died at the age of, I think, turning 22, actually. She died, and, my sister used to always cry then and say, she was my sister's best friend. And my sister used to say, they used to say that they won't live past 21. At least, she did that. She celebrated her 21st birthday and she didn't get to 22 when she died. So is that like a misconception or is that a real thing? Obviously, you are defying that claim right now because you are 30 and we thank God for that. Well, what would you say about that claim?
I'm holding myself right now not to shed a tear.
I'm
But
so sorry.
for your friend, is she still alive, if I may
To
ask?
be honest, I don't know. It
Oh,
was back
okay.
in school.
I don't know what would have made her get into that. It's like a phase. She got into like a dark phase for you to always think and say you can't live past 21. Like I don't even think I would want to ever get to that phase where I would confess. People on my socials, my friends, my family, they know how this 30 means a lot to me. Like I started doing countdown like 6 months since last year. Like I was looking forward to this 30. I have always been looking forward to this 30 because my elder sister died at 13. So last year I turned 29. I did like a carnival in the street of Abuja. Yes, I was going street by street with a placard, raising it up, saying I'm 29 with sickle cell. It's on my socials. And then this 30, like, it's a thing of joy for me. So I can't even imagine getting to a phase where I would say, oh, this 30, I don't think I would live. What? No. So that's like a dark phase, like I said. Now, and I don't think anyone should live in that. That's fear. You shouldn't even preach it. You shouldn't think it. So,
Sorry. Can take a minute if you need a minute. Just.
I lost I lost my best friend in the BC last year. I posted about it. Everyone literally knew how Ndubisi meant to me. I left Abuja. I flew from Abuja to Benin. He stays in Benin. I wanted to celebrate Christmas. In my life, I have never celebrated Christmas like off my family. I'm always celebrating Christmas with my family.
Right.
My mom died when I was 10, so I'm I stay with my dad, right? But I'm now staying alone. But I always make it a point of duty to stay with my dad every Christmas. But this Christmas, 2023, I wanted to celebrate Christmas with my best friend in the BC. I flew from Abuja to Benin and I stayed with him that day. I wanted to see what it is like living with sickle cell like me, but in his own word, Ndubisi was a truckload of complication. Ndubisi had like 8 complications with sickle cell. Then I just had one. And the rest of the things that he was complaining about, I cannot relate. So I wanted to like be in his shoes to like see what it is like as a guy, because NTBC is a guy, of course. I'm a woman, and for most male sickle cell warriors, it's a lot for them. So I wanted to just even be in his shoes, but of a truth, the shoes couldn't even fit because we're like two different people, despite the fact that we were both sickle cell. And last year, 2024, I lost him to the cold hands of death. He died from a sickle cell
May so rest in
complication.
peace.
He's so rest in peace. And aside Ndubisi, I've lost several others. This year as well, I've lost Steven, I've lost Becky. It's just a lot. But aside that, they had sickle cell. I know that everyone is going to die. I know that. But just living your life, like each day of your life, you're uncertain about how your day is going to span out. That's a lot. I don't want that for anyone. That's not the best way to go. Because with sickle cell, you can't predict. This minute you're fine, next minute you're not. I don't pray that life for anyone.
I'm so sorry. I can imagine what it's like to not just live with it, but have so many friends that, watch your friends die. And knowing that you live with that same thing, I can imagine if you're not somebody that is mentally strong, it's almost like as if you're sitting waiting for your own time too. And I love that, you're not taking it that way and you're just, living your life, trying to do something with your life. And that's very impressive. It takes a lot of strength to get to this point, and I really applaud you for that.
Thank you very
So
much.
we have to go on a quick break now, and we're going to be back shortly. So stay with us. Welcome back. We're still on the struggles of a sickle cell warrior, and we're still seated with the beautiful Judith, and she's still talking to us about, what it's like to live with sickle cell anemia. So Judith, I want you to, first of all, we're going to talk about the ailment itself, right? What are the triggers? Is there anything in particular that you personally do that triggers this crisis, or is it just nothing? Can you just be lying down and then you just feel it? What are the common triggers for this?
I think I would say collabo. Because first off, you can just be lying down and then you still have a crisis. Or as a sickle cell warrior, you might do certain things that would trigger your crisis. And one of it is stress. Like stress is I think every warrior should watch their stressors. Like they should watch it. And then another one is water.
Water, like drinking
Hydration.
water?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. When you're not taking enough water, for a warrior, like we call ourselves warriors. So for a sickle cell warrior, you're expected to like take like seven to 8 bottles of water every day. And I even exceed that, which is very good. And it helps on my skin and even my body. So water, that's hydration. Stress is an indicator. And if you're not eating vegetables, fruits, because you need this, and even protein, your food, you can basically do like a balanced diet meal every day. Yeah, just mix it up. protein, carbohydrates, but you're making sure that it's balanced every day of your life, and then you're eating your fruits and your veggies every day. You're avoiding stress, you're sleeping well. Like most warriors battle insomnia. I battle insomnia. As a matter of fact, I've been battling it from 6 months up until now. But I look forward to when I would doze off every time. Like sleep is very good. So if you're not having a lot of sleep, you'll have crisis. And then if you're not taking your supplements and your routine medications, we have routine medications. This is something you know that you have sickle cell, so you have to be on medications for the rest of your life. Just the same way HIV patients have like ARVs. So you have like your routine medication. So you must be on it. It's nothing, you can't say you're tired of taking it. You must take it at all times. So if you miss any of this, it's expected that you have a crisis. So yes.
Okay, so I want you to paint a picture for us of what it feels like to have a crisis. Is this, because I don't really know much about it, but they always say it's like bone pain, like joints, pain in the joints and the bone. What does this feel like? Is it like all over the body, or is it just on the hip? Can you just paint a picture for us? Maybe like your worst crisis that you've had. What and how does it start? How long is the duration for? And, yeah.
Okay. I'll start from the last questions. Well, the long crisis that I've had would be my AVN. Earlier on, I said I'm currently having a crisis, and the crisis I'm having is called AVN, avascular necrosis. That's AVN. AVN is death of the tissue, like in your hip. So it's excruciating and it's painful. It's even 50-50. Warriors can die from an AVN. So if it's not successful, they can die. So I had mine 6 years ago, and up until now, yes, I had years that I was free, like I could walk, of course, do things, but in those years, I was like a little bit restrained. There were still things I couldn't do. Despite that, I have done a surgery. But then again, last year, while I'm working, like it started like before the end of last year, I was having this. If I'm working, it will just like as if the socket will just go out and come in. Of the hip will just like go off and come back in. There was one day I was walking. I wanted to take a ride to town, and then I already walked to my junction. I was just waiting for the driver to just like come up to where I was, and then I wanted to take like few steps to the car, and it happened, and I fell. Like that was so crazy. Like this is not village people in quotes. This is your AVN starting to show that the prosthetic hip that they implanted, because I have an iron from here to here is an iron. There's an iron. So it's starting to show that, Judith, you need to check it so we can like do another replacement. So this is like the longest kind of crisis. So for 6 years of my life, it has been like on and off for me.
If I want to understand this AVN thing. So it's part of like the sickle cell disease thing?
Is types, okay, let's just say, this is not crisis. We just have 4 types of crisis. Okay. So, okay, we can liken AVN to one of the types. Types of crisis, like I said, 4. One is vaso-occlusive. That's the total bone pain, right? Another one is aplastic. So it's for bone marrow condition. Then we have hypermolytic, which is for hemoglobin. And then we also have the 4th one is splenic sequestration. That one is so painful. I've had that and it was a lot. So we can liken AVN to vaso-occlusive because it has to do with my bone, and then my bone got decayed. That was why, yes.
Oh,
like
so
when they
took
do
like a surgery
to remove
like
the
iron.
decayed bone, and then they put up what we call a prosthetic hip. And when they chopped it off, like removed the decayed bone, like you could see it, like you could see with your eyes that that this bone was actually decayed because it was chopped, and it was looking so bad. My dad almost fainted when he saw it because he was like, so this is what is causing me, because I was bedridden for months. I couldn't do stuff. That time I was in school, so I didn't write exams with my mates. It was just a lot that year. So for 6 years, I've just been battling AVN, and I'm still battling AVN.
But
I
when they
need
do the
to.
surgery, then does it get better? Is that like
It
a
get
permanent solution?
it's just a temporary solution because it's not permanent. This is what I will do for the rest of my life. I'll keep on replacing. Before I came, I even had an X-ray. It's I even brought it, so I need to. The X-ray is showing that it is bad, so we need to like start acting on it fast. So when they do it, I will be fine. But for some years, and then we'll do it again. So yeah,
So sorry about
thank
this.
you.
And then aside this AVN one that you just described, how does a crisis start? Like, do you just suddenly start feeling like headaches, or can you walk us through like one of the worst crises you've had? Like, not the long term ones. Like, say it's happening for like 10 minutes.
Okay.
What's the process? How does it start? How do you feel?
Okay. I have never had a crisis that lasted 10 minutes.
Oh.
In fact, if I would have that, I would thank God. Crises usually stay for from 3 days to 2 weeks. Yes, sometimes a week.
Do
Like,
you have to be in the hospital throughout this
of
period?
course, you have to be in the hospital because you need to have like a close watch, because time to time your nurses, they're coming to like inject and give you medication.
So
So
is it like
it's good
full
that you be in the hospital.
body pain, or is it like your body is just paining you? Or
Sickle cell can be likened to, okay, I have never given birth before, but then a group of us and even some medically inclined people came out to say sickle cell is 3 times more excruciating than a woman in labor. So we know how a woman in labor is having her contractions,
Yeah.
right? And then she's crying, she's wailing and all that. Sickle cell is 3 times more excruciating than that. Because for a pregnant woman, once they deliver, that is just like a load, right? So once you put out that load, I think the pain drops. But for us, it continues, it lingers for 3 days, for a week. You're in pain. You are in a pain that you can't even, you have no control over. So, and sometimes you're taking medications, opioids, and these things, they're not even good because they have lots of side effects for us. Yes, I can't even, the side effects are enormous. It's a lot. So I can't begin to like recount all of them, but then they mess up with us. Even like they leave you feeling, how would I put it? Like when you're recovered from a crisis, I feel that every sickle cell warrior should have like a therapy.
Right.
Because they are on opioids, and first off, opioids causes addiction. So sometimes even when you're not even in pain, you want that opioids because you like that feeling that you are having.
So it's like you get addicted to the drug.
For most sickle cell warriors,
Not everybody.
because right now I don't even think that any sickle cell warrior will want to be addicted. Have you seen the price of injection? I was telling my friend that because I wanted to come to Lagos, I stocked up. I knew how much I spent on medication. This is something that before now you get for like 35,000, 30K in some stores. Now you're getting for 90 to like 120. This is a lot. The state of things here in Nigeria is really telling on us, and we really want like a miracle. Like we really want a miracle. Our medications, if it can be subsidized, it really go very, very far for us because no.
Speaking, when you mentioned medications, I was actually going to mention this because, like we know, Nigeria, the country is terrible in terms of like money. There's no money anywhere. There are people that are privileged, right? That have money, come from well-to-do families, have
Okay.
money, they can afford these things. For people that cannot afford these drugs, how are they dealing with this thing? Because I am assuming that if like you said, if the crisis is going on, they have to be in the hospital.
Yes.
But there are people that cannot afford to be admitted in the hospital for a long time, because I'm sure the hospital is not going to say, "Oh, stay here for free." So,
not
is there
possible.
any, the way ARVs for HIV patients are free? Is there any do they give out free drugs to sickle cell patients? And what's
I
that
have
like?
never seen anyone giving free medications to sickle cell warriors aside NGOs in Nigeria. Maybe because I have one,
Yeah.
and then I also know one or two NGOs here in Lagos and even in Abuja who, even to get these medications to give out to warriors, we need to like write to ministries. We need to like, it's just a lot for them to like release, because the government, I feel all hands needs to be on deck for sickle cell. A lot of noise, cancer is being noised, HIV is being noised, sickle cell is not being noised, and it's telling on us as sickle cell warriors, because before now, those that had sickle cell in the olden days, they were the ones that they referred to as abiku, because they were always dying. That's actually sickle cell, not like it's a witchcraft thingy.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a sickle cell. So now, if you can't afford to get your medication, you can't afford 3 square meals. How much more your medications? It's not possible. So if you can't afford your medications, that means you're left on your own. Like, you're on your own. That means
That's automatic death.
that's also exactly, because no hospital would say, okay, come, we'll treat you for free. Or I know how much I spend on, in a year, I budget like 3 million naira
For drugs
for
alone.
treatment. And it got to, there was a year that I even exceeded my budget of 3 million. Yes. And then we just started this 2025. I don't even want to think how much I need to save for my treatment. Now, I don't know. I don't know, because just between January till now, I know how much I have spent, almost 1 million. Because my last admission was last month, and just my deposit was 250,000 naira. So I don't even want to say. So for warriors like me who can't even afford a dime or anything, it's a lot for them. So just NGOs that I know that are doing the Lord's work for sickle
You
cell
spoke
warriors.
about having an NGO. Can you tell us more about your
Okay.
NGO? What do you guys do? How can people support the NGO if they want to?
Yes. The name of my NGO is Judith Ojonigwa Sickle Cell Foundation, and we've been in existence since 2020, fully registered with CAC, and we meet all requirements. Judith Ojonigwa Sickle Cell Foundation is an NGO that's built for sickle cell awareness, and then we are a support group. Aside the whole counseling, awareness, we know, because I am the founder, I know what it means like to have sickle cell pain and to be in need of medication. So I try my best to see that I support my warriors with medications, because I know that aside money, they need medication. So yes. And then we have like empowerment programs that we set up from time to time. Last year, we trained over 50 people. We taught them photography, and we also taught them, there are some we put them in like tailoring, what's it called? School. Yes. And the other two, they are learning like web design, which once they are out of it, at least they'll make money for themselves. So our vision is to see that we create not just we want to see how we can also like put this in other states in Nigeria, like have like a network of advocacy groups, because I'm doing this in Abuja. I also want to see how I can do in Lagos, go to like rural communities, Maiduguri, Taraba, like just spread it. So that's like my vision. So I need people to support, people to like come in to see what I'm doing. Everything is on my socials. So if they want to see proof, because I know that people want to see proof. So there's a whole lot of proof as to what I have done so far.
I think the last question I want to ask before, I'm going to ask you to just speak to people that have it, but I just want to ask about what's the mental health of a sickle cell warrior like? How would you describe? Do they go through depression? Because I can imagine all of this people don't even go through quarter of this and they're depressed.
Exactly.
So what's the mental health of a sickle cell warrior like?
Sickle cell warriors are like 90% depressed and 10% suicidal. Every sickle cell warrior, I am one. So every sickle cell warrior is like 90% depressed, 10% suicidal when they are having a crisis. But if we're not having a crisis, it's fine. But then these medications that we are on, like I said earlier, it messes up with us. So for a sickle cell warrior that is an adult that knows their left from their right, it is not easy. When you're having sickle cell pain, you want to be better, right? Nobody wants pain. Nobody wants to be in one position, because if you're sick, of course, you're in one position. Either you're home or in the hospital. So nobody wants that for themselves. So they want to just be better. They want to be fine. But then there's most things that you can't do. There are a lot of things you can't do. So as a sickle cell warrior, our mental health is distorted. That's just the honest truth. We don't have like a balanced mental health. And the state of things in Nigeria is not even making it encouraging for us. So we're not fine, honestly. We're not fine. We're not fine.
To hear this.
Thank you.
And I really hope it gets better. And
I really
whenever
hope
we
so
post
too.
this, we're going to tag you and just make sure whoever wants to support the NGO, I think this is a very good cause to support. And I think I'm particularly more passionate about this because this is not I don't want to use the wrong word. Is it an ailment? Is it a disease?
It's a disease, actually. Yes,
Okay,
it's a
so
disease.
this is not a disease that somebody runs into by living a reckless lifestyle. This is not like they literally had no choice. And that's what makes it even more painful. That's why I think that the government should even be more, sympathetic towards them. There should be free drugs for people living with sickle cell because they didn't choose to live like this. And it's not as a result of something that they did wrong. So I really, really sympathize with you. And I really hope it gets better for you. And I hope you find support.
Thank you.
Just before we round this up, if there's anything you have to say to anybody living with sickle cell and is struggling right now, what would you say to them?
I would say, dear sickle cell warrior, you are not your illness. You have a beautiful dream. You have a beautiful life as a woman, as a man. So you need to own it. Do not live in fear, but rather live with purpose. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judith.
Thank
you for coming.
Thank you.
And we've come to the end of this episode. I hope you learned a thing or two. I am very moved and, I can't even imagine what it is like to live a day in her shoes. Like, this is crazy. But I wish for strength for anybody living with this or anybody that has a relative living with this. Because I know that even aside the people living with this, those that their loved ones are also dealing with, some sort of stress. I can imagine what the psychological stress would be, the financial stress, and, the physical stress is a lot. And I just pray it gets better. And I'm sending you all the love, all the hugs. And yeah, like she said, you're so much more than this. And you can live a very happy and very fulfilled life. So we've come to the end of this episode and we'll see you same time next week. Stay tuned. Bye, guys.